I'm going to start off with a song that last time I performed this song was a long time ago, and I'd tell you how many years that was, except that would make me seem old. Relevant then, and it's relevant now, I guess. Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you'd better start swimming, or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changin'. Come your writers and critics who prophesize with your pens, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. But don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. And the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changin'. Come you senators and congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he who gets hurt will be he who is stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are a-changin'. Oh, come your mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can lend your hand, for the times they are a-changin'. Oh, the line it is drawn, and the curse it is cast, and the slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changin'. Written by a precocious 20. Oh, thank you. I'll wait for the applause to die down. Precocious 21, 22-year-old young man. And and this one wasn't written by him. God bless the grass that grows through the crack. They roll the concrete over it and try to keep it back, but the concrete gets tired of what it has to do. It bends and it buckles, and the grass grows through, and God bless the grass. God bless the grass that grows through cement. It's green and it's tender and it's easily bent, but after a while it lifts up its head, for the grass is living and the stone is dead, and God bless fight towards the sun. They roll the lies over it and think that it is done. But it moves through the ground, reaches for the air, and after a while it is growing everywhere, and God bless the grass. God bless the grass that's gentle and low. Its roots, they are deep, and its will is to grow. God bless the truth, the friend to the poor, and the wild grass growing at the poor man's door, and God bless the grass. One of those songs was written by Bob Dylan, and the other one was written by Malvina Reynolds. Your assignment is to decide which is which. I've been washing my hands a lot. I hope you have too. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And in keeping with the topical nature of the opening sequence here of the Ray Bierl online concert, I thought I'd try to continue in a topical vein with something about washing hands. And I went through all my lists of songs, and I only came up with one, and the title is I Washed My Hands, except that's just half the title, and the rest of the title is In Muddy Water. I washed my hands in muddy water, which is not what this washing hands is all about, is it? So that's not very appropriate. Nonetheless, it brought to mind that song, and it's a good song. I think it was first done in the 60s by Charlie Rich when he was kind of a rockabilly cat before he became the Silver Fox heartthrob to many. I washed my hands in muddy water. Don't do this, friends. I was born in Macon, Georgia. Met my daddy in a Macon jail. He said, son, if you keep your hands clean, you might keep the bloodhounds off your trail. But I fell in with bad companions. I robbed a mail up in Tennessee, and I got caught way up in Nashville, yeah. Now they locked me up and threw away the key, 'cause I washed my hands in muddy water. Washed my hands, but they didn't come clean. Tried to do what my daddy told me, oh, but I must have washed my hands in a muddy stream. Guitar. Jailer, now when's my time in? He said, son, we won't forget, but you just try and keep your hands clean, and we might make a good man of you, yeah. But I couldn't wait busted out of the Nashville jail, and I just crossed the line to Georgia, and now I can hear the bloodhounds on my trail, because I washed my hands in muddy water. Washed my hands, but they didn't come clean. Tried to do what my daddy told me, but I must have washed my hands in a muddy stream. Yeah, I must have washed my hands in a muddy stream. Washed my hands in muddy water. So it, just remember the wash my hands part of that. Yeah. Okay, enough with the topicality and attempts at same, and get to the cowboy songs. In Prescott, Arizona, over on the kind of the west side, Prescott has gotten big enough to have suburbs, and sort of in the west side suburbs of Prescott, there's a kind of a boulevard there called Gail Gardner Way, named for Gail Gardner, who I believe, I'm going to tell you some things, you know, in the introductions to some of these songs and stuff, that may or may not be true. I think they are true, but what I'm going to tell you now, I think he was a postmaster in Prescott in his later years, and retired from there. And he's probably a pretty good postmaster, but that's not why they named a street after him. He'd been a rancher, cowboy kind of guy in his early days, and he took to writing poetry and songs, cowboy songs, and he wrote one of the most famous and best cowboy songs to come out of that world, called "Tying Knots in the Devil's Tail." It's sometimes called Rusty Jigs and Sandy Bob. Sometimes it's called the Siree Peats. The Siree Peats is cowboy lingo for the Sierra Piedra Mountains that are right around Prescott. And I know I talk a lot, and I'm going to talk a little bit more. Some people like to hear me talk, and other people would just as soon I got to the song. Well, I'm going to do that. Anyway, the song, the title we're going with is "Tying Knots in the Devil's Tail," which is kind of a shame because it's requires a spoiler alert, because that's what happens towards the end of the song. Well, it's way high up in the Siree Peaks where the yellow pines grow tall. Rusty Jigs and Sandy Bob at a rodeo camp last fall. Well, they're taking their ponies on their running irons and maybe a dog or two, and they allows that brand every lop-eared calf to come within their view. And it's a many a lop-eared doggy that didn't brush up by day, got his long ears whittled and his old hat scorched in a most artistic way. Then says Rusty Jigs to Sandy Bob as he throws his cigo down, "I'm tired of cow pyrography and I figures I'm a-going to town." So they saddles up and they hits them a lope, 'cause there weren't no sight of a ride. And them was the days when an old cow puncher could oil up his dry inside. hearts are in that Kentucky bar at the head of the Whiskey Road. And the wines are up at the depot house, some 40-odd drinks below. Yeah, the wines are up and it turns around and it goes back the other way. I'll tell you the Lord forsaken truth, those boys got drunk that day. And as they was a-heading back to camp and packing a pretty good load, who should to meet but the devil himself come a-prancing down the road. And the devil says, you cowboy skunks, you better hunt up your hoes, 'cause I've come up from hell's rim rock to gather in your two souls. Well, it says Russ Diggs to the devil, we boys is a little bit tight, but you ain't taking no cowboy soul without one kind of a fight. So he builds him a hole in his old throw rope and he throws it straight and true. He caught that devil right around the horns and he taken his dellies too. Now Sandy Bob was a riata man with his gut line coiled up neat. He shakes her out and builds him a loop and he caught the devil's hind feet. They throwed him down on the desert ground while the irons was a-getting hot. They cropped and swallowed, forked his ears, they branded him up the heck of a lot. They pruned him up with a dehorn and saw ties, knots, and his tail for a joke. They rode off and left him bellering there, necked up to Nalajacko. So, if you're ever up in the Siren Peaks and you hear one hell of a wail, you'll know it's nothing but the devil himself a-raising hell about the knots tied in his tail. Let the applause die down a minute here. Well, a lot of cowboy songs that we know weren't written by cowboys or made up by cowboys, even if they didn't write them down. Popularity of cowboy songs meant that it became a lucrative craft for Tin Pan Alley songwriters to write songs with a cowboy theme, and some of them are real good. So there's all kinds of cowboy songs. I'm going to do you one. One thing that happened is that the lonely life of the cowboy kind of got turned on its head and turned into a positive thing, and we got the image of the stalwart loner, like Ken Maynard in the old Republic pictures, and Hoot Gibson, and all those other guys whose names aren't coming to mind right at the moment. And so that image of that lone cowboy kind of got skewered pretty, at least the romanticization of it got skewered pretty good by the Eagles. They wrote that song called Desperado. Kind of shot a dart right through that bubble. But I'm going to do you one of those songs anyhow, because it's very charming. It was recorded in the late 40s by that famous cowboy Vaughn Monroe. A jig-a I get a tingle riding, clippity-clop atop a single saddle, single saddle. The women, they try to tempt me, but the minute the pantry's empty, I skedaddle, single saddle. Ain't a filly been born, BC Rose or a thorn, who could keep me from the lone prairie. Rounding up strays, all they ever get are nays from the Palomino Pal and me. Oh, when they get out a halter for a hitching me to the altar, I skedaddle, a single saddle, with a clubbity clop, a hop atop a single saddle, a single saddle. single saddle. And here's where I say, wait, come back, there's more. And if you'd like to join in the hilarity here, you could do the coconut shells. Leading my horse to water with a clippity-clop, I meet a neighbor's daughter. At the mention of matrimony, I'll be hopping upon my pony. I'm a straddle, a single saddle. I'll be out on the trail, clippity-clopping I tail, heading for the setting sun. And around my campfire, hearing the night birds choir, thinking I'm a lucky son of a gun. Whenever I hear the mention of matrimonial intention, I skedaddle, a single saddle, with a clippity-clop, I hop atop a single saddle, a single saddle. Single saddle. Charming, isn't it? It's fun to have those the way those words can roll around on your tongue when you're singing it. It is way fun. I got a request in the mail. With a contribution to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, no, the Idled Musicians Fund, and a request to do this song. Thank you, Peter. The Idled Musicians Fund, you may be asking. I am fortunate not to have had to depend on income from musical engagements for my income. So I can do this for fun, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. And also, giving you a chance to, if you're so situated in life and able to make a contribution to help out musicians who were kind of counting on gigs coming, into the late spring and summer, to make their living. And that's not, for a lot of them, that's not coming in, and it makes a big difference. And you can make a difference in the other direction by making a donation to them through me. I've got a PayPal account that you can contribute to, and if you don't do the PayPal thing, you can send me a check in the mail, just like Peter did, to that address. The last time I did one of these things, it was about a month ago. Actually, I think it was exactly a month ago. And boy, people were really generous, and I want to, anybody who's listening who made some of those, one or more of those contributions, is pretty great, and it's going to do some people some good. I'll remind you of this later. You know what? I'll remind you of this later. I'm going to take this down just so it doesn't look so crass and commercial, even though it's not really. I'll put it back up when I remind you later about this situation. of the IMF. Peter wanted to hear the Bohemian Dreams, which started off as a poem by Robert W. Service that he wrote when he was living in Paris. And the wonderful Marla Feibisch was reading Robert W. Service's poems that he wrote when he was in Paris. And I think it was a little volume called The Bohemian Poems or something like that. And she saw it being a musical sponge and had picked up all kinds of traditional music in her mind. She noticed that that poem, The Bohemian Dreams, totally fit with the melody of a traditional French-Canadian waltz called the Waltz Clog. They call it the Waltz Clog because people do fancy, intricate footwork along with it. So I could say this is a song that was made up by Marla Feibisch, thank you Marla, from raw materials provided by Robert W. Service and the musicians of Quebec. Boy, if I could think of something more to say about this song, I would. As you can imagine, the way I like to talk, but I've run out of things to say, so I guess I'll just have to sing this song. The Bohemian Dreams. Because my overcoat's in pawn, I choose to take my glass at a little bistro on the Rue de Montparnasse. The dusty bins with bottles shine, the counters lined with zinc. There I sit and sip my wine and think. I think of hoary old Istanbul, of Muslim and of Greek, of Persian in coat of wool, of Kurd and Arab chic, of all types of weal and woe. And as I raise my glass across Galata Bridge, I know they pass. La 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 I think of Monte Carlo, where the pallid croupiers call, and in the gorgeous guilty air the gamblers watch the ball. And as I flick away the foam with which my beer is crowned, the wheels beneath the gilded dome go round. I think of citron trees aglow, fan palms shading down, sailors dancing heel and toe with wenches black and brown. And though it's all an ocean far from Yucatan to France, I'll bet beside the old bazaar they dance. La 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 I think of Nizhny Novgorod, of Jews who never rest, of women folk with spade and hod who slave in Budapest, squat and sturdy Japanese who pound the paddy soil. And as I loaf and smoke at ease, they toil. I think of shrines in Hindustan, cloistral glooms in Spain, minarets in Isfahan, Saint Sophia's fame, convent towers in Palestine, temples in Cathay, and as I stretch and sip my wine, they pray. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. So my dreams I dwell within as visions come and go. Life is passing like a cinematographic show, and just as surely as my pipe is underneath my nose, amid my visions rich and ripe, I doze. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la, la 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 la. The Bohemian Dreams. Okay, now for something different. A few years ago at the San Francisco Folk Music Club's New Year's Camp Out retreat, sorry. I did a little mini concert, sort of like this one here, except it had a theme. And I called it, at the risk of sounding like a really old guy, I called it Ray Bierl's Set List from 1967, when I was playing in folk music venues in San Diego. And I look back, on some, so I didn't do any song that I hadn't known in 1967. And well, it shouldn't have been surprising, but a lot of those songs, they're still good. There's a few of them that haven't aged well. This is one I had learned even earlier. Oh, and it occurred to me that this was maybe in 2017 that I did this, and I said, "Come hear these songs that I did in 1967." It would have been 50 years earlier. And that would have been like somebody coming up to me in 1967 and saying, "Hey, come on by, I'm going to do a bunch of songs that I used to do in 1917. And yeah, that any of you who can relate too well to that, I apologize. This is one I learned off a Cisco Houston record in about, well, I'm not going to tell you what year it was, but it was in It was earlier than 1967, I'll tell you. About learning to play the guitar, and I remember when I used to do this, I'd show people how I was coming along by just noodling. And I did it pretty good back then. I'll see if I can try to do it as good now. If you want to get in trouble, I'll tell you how to do it. Just get yourself a guitar, then you're into it. You practice all day and half the night, folks telling you you never will get it right, always fussing at you, grousing, won't let you practice. Well, I got a guitar about a year ago, and the man said I'd learn in a week or so. Sold me the guitar and a pick or two and said, there it is, but now it's up to you. That dirty dog charged me $4.95. This is a very old song. Well, since I'd already spent my dough, I didn't want it to go to waste, you know. So I took the guitar and the book and all where the grass grows tall out in the country. Great place to be if you got a guitar. Don't amount to a great deal if you eat. Weeks and weeks I labored hard just to try to learn them few main chords. The book said it was easy as A, B, C, but oh, my fingers got to killing me. Couldn't bash the strings down. Got sore at the end. Felt disgusted, wanted to quit. But I practiced hard both night and day, and I could see Ma's hair was turning gray. Her face was lined with discontent, said her patience was just about spent. She was agitated, nervous, wanted to scream. Well, my sister took it the worst of all. She got married that coming fall. Said it was love, but I got my doubts. I think that guitar drove her out. She was a game gal, just couldn't take it. Said there was a limit to everything. Well, my dad, he took it a different way. He said, son, you may turn your ma's hair gray and drive your sister away from home, but boy, either you or me is going a roaming, and I ain't leaving. You figure it out. And the very next day after my clothes was packed, I slung that guitar across my back. Caught me the end of a long gray train to search this world for my share of fame. But I haven't found any, no. Just a lot of hard luck, heartaches, and handouts. Talking guitar blues. I'm still trying. Some of those licks I got pretty good, don't you think? You know, there's categories of songs that are out there. You know, cowboy songs and blues and top 10 hits from whatever, old ballads and stuff. But it's fun to introduce categories and themes that, if any of you were with me the last time I did this, I talked about hillbilly noir, the genre of music that I like to think I invented. It doesn't mean other people didn't also invent it. And you know, that was fun to kind of think of things. And one category of song that this next song fits into is songs about evolution. And I started thinking, it's a really good song. It's written by Bill Kirchen. And I just started to think, man, that's about the only song I can think of that fits that category. So if I was going to do like Bob Dylan and have a theme time hour or something, I'd have to do that song over and over again. But I remembered that there was another song about that. So I know one, and I know of the other one. The other one was one that Sam Hinton used to do. Sam Hinton was a marine biologist. He knew all about evolution and stuff like that. He did it. I don't think he made it up. He could have. A song called Amphioxus. Amphioxus was a fossilized critter that they encountered, a sea creature that they determined was the progenitor of us, and almost all of the creatures are crawling around on land. So that would make it our, and I started to say great grandma or grandpa, great, but you'd have to say great for a couple of weeks to get that far back in time. Talk about your discovery of deep time. It went, the lyrics, it's to the tune of A Long Way from Tipperary. It went, it's a long way from Amphioxus, it's a long way to us. It's a long way from Amphioxus to the meanest human cuss. I'm not going to sing that song. I don't really know it, but I'm going to sing you Bill Kirchen's song that he wrote. Bill Kirchen is one of the best guitar players going. He's such a good guitar player, he wouldn't even have to be as good a singer as he is. He's a great singer. And he writes really good, as you will hear, he writes good songs. And he wrote this when he found out that there was some parents of some high school students who were suing their local school board because the school board was insisting that creation science be taught in the high school as if it were science. And he got angry about it, tried to write a kind of an angry, passionate song, and what he ended up writing was kind of a thoughtful, contemplative song. But then he found out that the way that court case was settled, it was a judge that decided the case, and the judge was a George W. Bush appointee who decided in favor of the parents who didn't want creation science taught in the schools. So that was pretty cool. But we got this great song called Rocks in the Sand. Before fish ever walked on land, time was turning rocks into sand, rocks into stone, stone into sand, sand that slips through the hands of a man. Well, I built my castle close to the shore, and I slept each night to the sound of the ocean roar. And I came to understand I'd built my house on shifting sand. So we moved to the hills and we built us a town. Beautiful views for miles around. When the mountains shook and tumbled down, well, we knew we'd built on shaky ground. Before fish ever walked on land, time was turning rocks into sand, rocks into stone, stone into sand, sand that slips through the hands of a man. Well, the sands will shift and the earth's gonna roll, and the rocks and the rain will collect their toll. I'll take is what I brought, and I may not get all that I sought, but whether I stay or I fall, it's up to the shifting sand after all. Before fish ever walked on land, time was turning rocks into sand. Rocks into sand. When I first learned that song, I started, boy, you ought to hear me do that sometime with my friend Marky Sanders, who plays bass and sings. She came up with a beautiful harmony part on that. It kind of makes it even better than it already is. Well, we were doing that, and this must have been exactly 11 years ago, because I would remark to people that it was the 200th anniversary of Charles Darwin's birth. He was born on February 12th, 1809, in England, within 2 hours of the time that Abraham Lincoln was born in Illinois or Kentucky. I think Kentucky. So we would kind of pair these couple of songs together, and this next song, it was not written by Abraham Lincoln, but it's a Civil War song. Well, I also was saying I'd read that great book by Doris Kearns Goodwin, which I still recommend, called Team of Rivals, about Lincoln and his cabinet during the Civil War. And I was in danger of becoming a Civil War buff. And I said, said that my friends promised to intervene if I showed any signs of becoming a reenactor. Fortunately, I didn't get close to that eventuality. 1863 was when the Battle of Gettysburg was fought. Phenomenal loss of life, but I think it was kind of the turning point in the Civil War, and that, of course, is where Lincoln came and made a very short address at the dedication of the graveyard there in the graveyards there in Gettysburg. Sometime after the battle was fought, and it was around that same time that a man named J.H. McNaughton, who was a songwriter, wrote a song called "The Faded Coat of Blue." I'll sing it for you now. My brave lad, he sleeps in his faded coat of blue. In a lonely grave unknown lies a heart that beats so true. He fell faint and hungry among the famished slain, and they laid him cold and lonely in a nameless grave. He cried, "Give me water, just a little crumb, and my daddy, he will bless you in all the days to come. And tell my dear mother, so gentle, good and true, I will meet her up in heaven in my faded coat of blue." No more the bugle calls the weary one. Rest, noble spirit, in a grave unknown. We may find you and know you among the good and true, where a robe of white is given for a faded coat of blue. He cried, "My dear comrades, you cannot take me home, but you can mark my grave for mother, so she'll know me when she comes. For I fear she'll not know me among the good and true, when I meet her up in heaven in my faded coat of blue." No dear one was by him to close his mild blue eyes, no gentle voice was nigh him to whisper lies. No stone marks the sod upon a lad so brave and true. In a lonely grave he's sleeping in his faded coat of blue. No more the bugle calls the weary one. Rest, noble spirit, in a grave unknown. We may find you and know you among the good and true, where a robe of white is given for a faded coat of blue. Long, long years have passed, and still he comes no more, yet my heart will start and beat at each footfall at the door. I gaze o'er the hillside where he waved his last adieu, but no gallant lad I see in his faded coat of blue. No more the bugle calls the weary one. Rest, noble spirit, In a grave unknown, we may find you and know you among the good and true, where a robe of white is given for a faded coat of blue. We may find you and know you among the good and true, where a robe of white is given for a faded coat of blue. Well, Jack Link, old friend of mine, friend of a lot of you, I bet, left the planet with a lot of good music behind. He wrote some good songs. He wrote one. I'm not going to sing it for you, but I'm going to tell you there's it's a song goes, play me a sad song and make me happy. There's another song on the same theme. It says, sad songs are music to my ears. Always like that line. But Jack had a line in his song, a good old country weeper, that's for me. So I thought I would, a good old country weeper. Pardon me. Pam? Oh. I'm going to see if I can get a little drink. Do you know what? Yeah. Would you be so kind as to bring me a glass of water?
Pardon?
Would you be so kind as to bring me a glass of water?
Yeah, I have it ready.
Oh, and she has it ready.
Cheers.
Oh boy. Thank you, Pam, without whom this would not have been able to happen.
Come on, Maggie. And the dog.
And there's the dog. Okay. She said keep going. Okay, so Milo Zonka in 19 God, I say these years and it just makes us all sound very, very venerable, I guess. 1968, he said, you got to get this album by Jerry Lee Lewis. I said, Jerry Lee Lewis, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. He says, yeah, but he's got an album of country weepers called Another Place, Another Time. And I bought that, and is real good. And this is the title song, Another Place, Another Time. One by one, they're turning out the lights. I've been feeding that old jukebox just to hold you tight. I guess it's for the best. I just put in my last dime. I heard you whisper we'd meet again. Another place, another time. Chairs are stacked all on the table, and it's closing time, they say. I gotta wait right here forever if they'd only let me stay. Anywhere would be much better than that old lonely room of mine. and a sleepless night, awaiting for another place, another time. Won't that room of mine be a lonely place to be? After I've been holding you so close to me, won't that old stairway be a little hard to climb, to a lonely room to wait for another place, another time? Well, there's a singer on the jukebox, says he's so lonesome he could cry. He knows just how I'm feeling every time we say goodbye. I walk alone down empty streets to that lonely room of mine, to walk the floor awaiting for another place, another time. Won't that room of mine be a lonely place to be? After I've been holding you so close to me, and won't that old stairway be a little hard to climb, to a lonely room to wait for another place, another time? Won't that old stairway be a little hard to climb, to a lonely room to wait for another place, another time? Sad songs are music to my ears. Another place, another time. So, a while ago, I was every other Sunday or so, I was going down to a local coffee shop in the late morning and singing songs, and people came by and listened. And sometimes, so I was singing to people that I knew, and also to people who I didn't know and didn't know me, but they're singing these songs. And I had my recorded Uber, my recorded output there, if anybody cared to buy anything. And on the first recording I did way a long time ago, I had a great Woody Guthrie song called East Texas Red. And there was a fella there. He was an older guy. He was almost as old as I am now, I believe. And he said, East Texas Red. I never heard that song. He said, I'm from East Texas. You got to do that song for me. And so I did. I sang. And I never heard another word from him. I don't think it... Well, I'm going to do the song for you. You can maybe tell why he wasn't so... Anyway. Woody Guthrie wrote some of the best songs ever, and this one might be my favorite of all his songs. He might have done better ones, but this might be my favorite. Way out in that scrub oak country, to the southeast Texas Gulf, there used to ride a brakeman double tough. He worked the town of Kilgore and Longview 12 miles down. And the travelers all said that Mr. East Texas Red was the meanest bull around. And if you rode by night or the broad daylight, in the wintry wind or the sun, you could always see little East Texas Red just a sporting its smooth running gun. And the tails got switched down the stems and manes, and everybody said that the meanest bull on them shiny irons was that little East Texas Red. Well, it was on one cold and wintry day along towards 9 or 10. A couple of boys on a hunt of a job, they stood in that blizzardy wind. Hungry and cold, they knocked on the doors of the working people around for a piece of beef and a carrot or spud, just to boil a stew around. Well, East Texas Red come down the line, and he swung off that old number 2. He kicked their bucket over a bush, and he dumped out all their stew. And the travelers said, Mr. East Texas Red, you better get your business straight, 'cause you're gonna ride your little black train just 1 year from today. Well, Red just laughed and he climbed the bank, and he swung on the side of a wheeler. And the boys got a tanker to Seminole, west to Amarillo. They got them a job of oil field work, and they followed a pipeline down. It took them lots of places before that year had rolled around. Then on one cold and wintry day, caught them a Gulf-bound train. They shivered and shook with the dough in their clothes just to see Kilgore again. Past hills of sand, down hard froze roads where the cotton wagons rolled. On the town of Kilgore and long down to old Longview. With their warm suits of clothes and their overcoats, they walked into a store, and they paid that man for some meat and stuff just to boil the stew once more. Then the ties, they tracked down the cinder dump, and they came to that same old spot where East Texas Red just 1 year ago had dumped their last stew pot. Well, the smoke from their fire rose higher and higher, and Red come down the line. He shivered and shook in that blizzardy wind as he waved old number 9. And he walked on down past the cinder dump till he came to that same old spot. And there was the same 2 men again around that same stew pot. Red went to his knees and he hollered, please don't pull your trigger on me. I did not get my business straight, but he did not get his say. A gun wheeled out of an overcoat, and it played that old one too. And Red was dead when the other 2 men sat down to eat their stew. Whoa. Hell of a story, huh? Well, we're getting towards the end here. I've only got about 5 or 6 more to do. Might have to trim that down. Okay, I'm going to do you a couple more here. This next one, you could look at it 2 ways. It's a great song called Down and Out. I like to think of this song as a song of the 1%. Except it's the 1% that's at the opposite end from the 1% that we usually refer to as the 1%. It's called Down and Out, written by Margaret Ann Rich. And you could say that, well, she wrote this great song, and then because her husband happened to be Charlie Rich, she got him to do it, which is great. Or you could say that Charlie Rich had his wife, Margaret Ann, write this great song for him to do. I'm not going to try to bother my head deciding which of that is likely to be the case. Down and out. Hope you're not either one, and especially not both. Before we do that, I forgot to have another commercial announcement in case you didn't get to copy this down or memorize it, whatever. For the IMF, the Idle Musicians Fund, for just those of you who can do this without it being a burden on you, send me some money and I'll pass it on to people who can use it more than you can and more than I can. How's that? And thank you in advance. And thank you, whether you're contributing, thank you for being there. Anybody who's left after all this time. Okay, down and out. Oh boy, times we're living. Once I had a diamond ring, but I hawked it. I used to have a real fine home, but they locked it. I used to have a good thing going, but I knocked it. It was a long time ago. It ain't that way no more, 'cause I'm down and out. Drive a brand new car, now I'm thumbing. I used to smoke the best cigars, now I'm bumming. Now a collector, now they're dunning. It ain't that way no more, it ain't that way no more, 'cause I'm down and out. Yeah. Well, I'm as broke as the 10 Commandments. All my friends did a quick reverse. One thing about it, things have got to get better, 'cause they sure can't get no worse. Well, the thing that I'm missing the most is my baby. She left me and it almost drove me crazy. I used to be a real go-getter, now I'm lazy. It was a long time ago, it ain't that way no more, 'cause I'm down and out, down and out. for the mistakes, folks. Well, I'm as broke as the Ten Commandments. All my friends did a quick reverse. Only thing about it, things I got to get better, 'cause I sure can't get no worse. Well, the thing I'm missing the most is my baby. She left me and it almost drove me crazy. It used to be a real go-getter, now I'm lazy. There was a long time ago, it ain't that way no more, 'cause I'm down and out, yeah, down and out, baby. Oh, down and out. Kind of a charming song about a dire situation. Used to be a couple of paychecks away from being down and out, down, down and out. Okay. I'm going to do you one more here. Kind of gonna leave you with kind of a thoughtful note. It's a song about mortality, and I'll preface it by telling you about the time I went to my dentist. So a while ago, he'd been my dentist for a long time, and he's since retired, about my age, and went to see him and got his hygienist, who was a great gal. She cleaned my teeth for me, as she did periodically, and whenever she'd get done cleaning my teeth, Dr. Rosen would come in and kind of look over his handiwork that he in my mouth. He'd open for me. Yeah, okay. No, clench your teeth. Yeah, okay. He says, he's looking. Well, he says, it's not as if these have to last forever, is it? Which is absolutely true. And I thought I've related that to people and the next time I went for cleaning something, I told him, I said, that was the coolest thing you said. And he said, they don't have to last forever, do they? And he said, did I say that? He didn't think he had said that, but he did. And but anyway, mortality. Larry Penn is a songwriter that I never met. Lived in Milwaukee. Friend of friends of mine. He'd been a hobo in his youth, and he was I think somebody said he made his living as a truck driver when he was. But he wrote a lot of good songs. Sang them good. No charge for the tuning either, folks. I know you're saying, well, I'll pay you some if you just get it in tune. These tuners, they call them tuners. They don't tune, they just tell you when you're wrong. It's called Time to Go. Larry Penn. Now the whistle on the eastbound train is sweet tonight. It's calling me the way an old-time lover might. Every time the whistle blows, it says to me, I'll take you back to where your soul is free. Now there's something about the way a lady sings tonight. Her raucous melody warms up a hobo's night. And I haven't felt like this since I was 17. Heading out to places I'd never seen. Come on, you worn out railroad bum, it's time to go. It's time to go. Oh, it's time to go. Come on, you worn out railroad bum, get up and roll. Rattling back to where your soul is free. Now somewhere in the murky night, a whistle wails. I swear it's calling me to come and ride the rails, telling me to leave my callous things behind, telling me it'll take me back in time. Come on, you worn out railroad bum, it's time to go. Yeah, it's time to go. It's time to go. Come on, you worn out railroad bum, get up and roll. Rattling back to where your soul is free. Now one by one my friends have caught the westbound run. They're waiting by the river there for me to come. And you won't have to worry what became of me. I'm a-rattling back to where my soul is free. Come on, you worn out railroad bum, it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to go. Come on, you worn out railroad bum, get up and roll. Rattling back to where your soul is free. Rattling back to where your soul is free. Thank you. No, really, thank you. You're too kind. Well, okay, I'll do one more. Let me wet my whistle a little bit. I had this next one picked out just on the off chance that I would get an encore. It's a song that was mostly written by Paul Jeremiah, who's been having some health problems the last few years. He had a stroke about 4 years ago. I think it's a shame it kind of took him out of the performing. A brilliant purveyor of the Delta blues guitar and singing styles of people like Robert Johnson. And a really good songwriter. I think he played, he did. He played the piano too. Jeremiah, Paul Jeremiah. I heard, what's his name? You know, I can remember all these words to these songs that you've been hearing me do, but can I remember the names of people I'm trying to think of? Chris Smither. I heard Chris Smither do this song. He said it was written by Paul Jeremiah, whom I had met just briefly a few years previous back east. But real good song. And I thought, boy, I'd like to learn that sometime. But and every so often I'd look, get Paul Jeremiah's recordings, and it wasn't on any of them. And what I kind of in the back of my mind was doing was trying to remember how that song went and how it could have went, and coming up, well, to put it bluntly, I wrote a couple of verses to the song, not having heard Paul. Finally, Paul recorded it, and I got to hear it. And I'm not telling you what the song is until I do it, because it'll be anyway. I got in touch with Paul and said, I love your song, and I couldn't help myself. And with your permission, I'll do these. I'll just tack my little contribution on this great song that you wrote. So here it is. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll go out with. Way back in Massachusetts, oh yeah, I meant to say the theme of this very last song is civil disobedience. Jot that down. Way back in Massachusetts where the highways go, a little west of Boston in the rain and snow, there stands a little cabin that we all know, swinging little Pat Henry David Thoreau. He's a cat who learned to read and write so well that he could transcend all ages like a ringing a bell. Go, 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 Henry David, go, go, Henry David, go, 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 Henry David Thoreau. He used to run around a grooving with the flowers and the trees, humming to the rhythm of the birds and bees. Everybody lived from miles around, so I laughed and shook their heads at that crazy clowny. He never followed none of that government jive. He was the hippest transcendental latent cat alive. Go, 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 Henry David, go, go, Henry David, go. Go, 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 Henry David Thoreau. Well, they put him in jail in 1844 because he wouldn't pay his taxes for the Mexican War. His friend Ralph Waldo come to blow his bail. He said, Henry, what you doing in jail? Henry fixed Waldo with his baby blues. He said, Ralph Waldo Emerson, you should be in here too. Go, go, Henry David, go. Go, Henry David, go, 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 Henry David Thoreau. Civil disobedience. A lot of people thought it made a lot of sense. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King got a lot of inspiration from Henry's thing. He put it right down the middle, if you know what I mean. He was a regular uncontented Lincoln machine. Go, 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 Henry David, go, go, Henry David, go. David Thoreau. Get you next time. I'll let you know when it happens. Thanks, everybody.